everybody, it's Brock and we got a brand new episode of All About. Today we're learning all about the Dragon Wrasse. Other common names for them are the Rockmover Wrasse, Belly Wrasse, or the Reindeer Wrasse. Jumping right into it, the Dragon Wrasse as a juvenile can cost as low as $30 and getting an adult can cost upwards of $150. Looking around online, they seem to be ready available with a lot of options and sizes, whether you wanted to get one of the juveniles for their unique look or an adult to add to your predatory tank. A lot of these wrasse are sold in the aquarium trade for their wild body shape with an elongated body, two giant top fins that stand up like horns, and a really cool pattern that a lot of wrasse have. Any hobbyist that sees this fish will want them in their tank. You want to be cautious though. Juveniles can be sold as small as 1 to 3 inches, which makes it really appealing to put in the smaller tank, but beware, this wrasse can grow up to 12 inches long in the tank setting. So that's a big wrasse that needs a lot of swimming room, as they are a very active wrasse. From a juvenile to adulthood does take about 3 years to hit that max size, so if you do end up putting them in, say, a 75-gallon tank as a juvenile, they'll love it for a couple years, but eventually you would want to upgrade and move them to somewhere larger. There tends to be a lot of more aggression and a lot more territorialness with them in a smaller tank as they get bigger. So give them more room, that way they're not so aggressive towards your other fish. With them getting to a foot long, I'd recommend a 180-gallon aquarium. This size tank is usually 6 feet in length, which will give them plenty of room to explore throughout the day. A great setup for the wrasse would be a deep sand bed, preferably 2 to 4 inches. If you're able to mix a bit of aragonite with crushed coral, this wrasse will have an absolute heyday. The deep sand bed is one for the wrasse to bury themselves in. The Dragon Wrasse can completely submerge himself under the sand when frightened or when sleeping. The other reason is they love to dig and scavenge for food. You can find videos of this wrasse making a mess of the sand to get a hitchhiker or to get a piece of rock. You can even play a bit of a game where you can bury a dead piece of coral deep in the sand, just stick a little piece of it up, and you can watch them still be able to pull that entire piece of coral out of the sand. They are surprisingly strong. You'll want a lot of live rock in the tank. They like to swim through the caves and overhangings that you create. You can see them searching closely to the structures looking for anything to eat. Make sure you have the tank completely covered, as they are prone to jumping like any other wrasse would be, especially when first introduced into the tank, so make sure every spot is covered. Care level, I'd put them at moderate. The juveniles are prone to being skittish from feedings like frozen foods and pellets and flakes, so if you notice them not eating the first few days, get some live food in there to entice them. There's feeder shrimp and other small fish you can get in there to try to bounce around in front of them and entice them to eat. The other thing is just dealing with their personality in the tank. As a juvenile, they can be pretty peaceful, but as they do get older, they can make a mess of the tank at times. So make sure your intakes aren't getting clogged, your power heads are still blowing well, and overall that your other fish aren't getting bullied by them. Their temper is semi-aggressive. As they mature, you can see them getting more like other large aggressive wrasse, similar to ones like the lunar, the bird wrasse, the yellow wrasse. They just get big, they're very active, and they can be a bit of a bulldozer through the tank. They can rearrange it, they can bully smaller reef, peaceful fish, and they're not going to let anyone else bother them. Reef compatibility is with caution. The wrasse itself is not going to eat your corals, but as they get bigger, they start to see your inverts as snacks. So shrimp, snails, crabs, all of those are going to be a meal to the wrasse, and their powerful jaws, the inverts just do not stand a chance. The other issue in a reef is they like to rearrange that rock. So they will be searching for food throughout the day, and they're not going to let anything stop them from getting to it. So frag plugs that aren't glued in or corals that you have in the sand bed can definitely get stressed from just the rambunctiousness of this wrasse. Temperature can be anywhere between 72 to 82 degrees. Where they're caught is very warm waters on the reef. DKH 8 to 12, pH 8.1 to 8.4, and your salinity 1.020 to 1.025. A hardy fish, but can still be prone to ick and velvet, so I'd check with your LFS to see if they have them in copper or if they've done any dips in quarantine before you buy them. As long as you keep track of your water changes and don't let your levels like ammonia, nitrates, and phosphates spike, this wrasse is going to do great. The max size is 12 inches from a juvenile to an adult. They almost look like a completely different wrasse. Similar to angels that completely change over time, this wrasse will be very brown and have a lot of white coloration, eventually changes to this black and gold like coloration. So even when they're juveniles up to adults, it's still a very pretty fish to have in the tank. Diet is a carnivore all the way. They need meaty food in their diet. As juveniles, they will love frozen cubes. You can buy like mysa shrimp, brine, krill. A lot of choices out there you can give them. Some will even get accustomed to eating pellets and flakes like your other fish will eat. As they do get bigger, you can actually start to feed them larger food like silver sides. Clams on a half shell are really fun to watch them try and yank and tear that meat off. So that's a lot of good nutrition that they'll get from that meaty food. Their origin is from the Indo-Pacific region. Specifically, a lot of them come from the Philippines and Indonesia. From my research, they do not seem to be captive bred successfully in the present day. Compatibility can be a bit tricky because as juveniles, they're actually very docile and prefer to be around other docile fish, but as they mature, they become more aggressive and they be around fish that hold their own, like tangs, angels, triggers, and just other tougher fish that can handle some bullying and can also dish it back. I would recommend putting them with fish you know won't get bullied easily. Chromies, small gobies, cardinals, those are going to be the ones that tend not to do well around a larger wrasse because they can be just so aggressive towards them and a bit too rambunctious that they end up just hiding their entire time in the tank. So be careful about what you put them with. And that'll do it for today's episode of All About of the Dragon Wrasse. Key things to remember is this wrasse will get up to 12 inches long within the first 3 years. They can be picky eaters, so keep a variety of food available to keep trying to get them to eat something from you. Don't forget those glass lids. Wrasse love to jump. They're not going to mess with your corals, but they will rearrange that live rock and go after your inverts as they get older. They start off docile, but can be more aggressive as they get older. So just be cautious of bullying towards your other fish. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are so close to hitting 20,000 subscribers. Tell your family about the All About series this holiday season. And as always, stay safe, be kind, and I'll see y'all later.